everyone, welcome back to the channel today. So I'll be showing you how to go about the making of this beautiful pencil short skirt with a basket like weave design that is in X shape or X form. So this tutorial is 100% beginners friendly. So I paired mine with a body hug top, or you can pair it with a matching blouse. So this blouse you see at the right side of the screen is an off shoulder bustier blouse with a back waistline and puff sleeves, which has been uploaded on the channel. So click the link in the description box. It will directly take you to the tutorial on how to go about the drafting and also the sewing of this beautiful top. I actually use 1.5 yard of fabric to recreate this particular skirt you see right here. I'm a size 10 by the way, so do not discard that small piece of fabric that is left. You can use it to do something beautiful like this. And with all that being said, let's get started with today's tutorial. Please listen carefully before you go on ahead to draft. To actually take your measurement for a perfectly fitted skirt without having any bulginess at the front part of your skirt, this is the exact way you are supposed to take your hip measurements. So the first measurement we'll be taking here will be for the front hip. For the front hip. So you're going to turn to the side. You can see at the side you can actually use your clothes to indicate your side. From there, you're going to place the measurement all the way across to the other side of your front hip. So this one now is just basically for the front hip. So most times the front hip are always lesser than the back hip. So this is my front hip right now. Mine is 20 inches. Okay, so after taking the measurement for the front hip, the next one is to take the measurement for the back hip. So the same process I'm going to be repeating for the back. From one side, you can see right there, I'll place my tape and take it all the way across over my butt, as you can see, then to the other side as well. So the back part of your hip is always bigger because of the butt we have at the back, right? So for the back butt, I have 23.5 inches. So one thing I want you all to know is that after taking your front hip measurement and your back hip measurement, when you add up the two, you are going to be having your exact hip circumference. Okay, so that is how to know that, okay, I actually got this measurement. So do this and you are not going to be having that bulge at the pouch area of our waistline. So that's basically it, and I'm just going to get started with the drafting on my pattern paper. So on my pattern paper, I already ruled out this straight line, which is going to be my waistline. So before I take my vertical measurement, I'll be subtracting 1.5 inches because that will be for my band. So that 1.5 inches, I placed it on that first line I marked at the top part of my paper. Now I marked my hip length of 8 inches. Then I also mark my skirt length here of 19 inches. So remember the band I'll be putting to this skirt is 1.5 inches. So I'm subtracting 1.5 inches from all my vertical lines. To get that first line at the top part of your paper, just mark half of an inch below from the top part of your paper. That was how I got that. So that line now is my waistline. The second line is my hip line. And the last line is my skirt length or my full length. So on my waistline, I'll divide my waist circumference by 4 and mark what I have right there. For my hip line, remember I said that my front hip is 20 inches. I'll be dividing it by 2 and I have 10 inches right there. Okay, so remember on the waist you divide by 4, on the hip you divide by 2. So what I have on my hip line, I went ahead to subtract just 1 inch from that and I marked what I have on my full length. So I'm connecting now from my waistline to my hip line into my skirt length. After the connection, the next is to take my dart. So my nipple to nipple point is 7 inches, divided into 2 is 3.5 inches. That is what I'll be marking on my waistline. Then from that 3.5 inches, I'll come down by 4.5 inches. That line now, I'll be extending it, then I'll label it my dart line. So my dart creation is going to be stopping exactly on this my dart line. I connected this downward like this into a straight line, and at both sides under my waistline, I'll just mark half of an inch away from my dart leg. Then I'll reconnect it into this 4.5 inches in a slanted way like this. So we all know that any dart you take has to be replaced, and my dart intake here now is 1 inch. I'll be replacing it at the side of this my pattern paper. So you see the way I went on ahead to replace it right there, and I reconnected it making sure that it stopped exactly on that dart line. Your dart is not supposed to exceed the part it was taking. So after that, I now went on ahead to add my sewing allowance of 1.5 inches, and I also reconnected this, and at the end of the day you can see what I have. So the next part I'll be moving to is for the basket like weave design. So from the full length of my skirt, I went on ahead to add extra 4 inches at the base right there. So I'll go on ahead and connect it into a straight line as well. I'll measure out what I have on my full length and also mark the same thing on this part, then I'll connect. So this part now I'll be different, so I'll be labeling in the basket because it will be different. Then on the waistline, from the edge of my pattern paper here, I marked half of an inch below. Then I'm slightly going to connect this into my waistline. Just watch carefully. Then when I do this, I'm going to be cutting this out. This is because it gives a proper fit when you do this, okay, on your waistline or your waist area, just as our trouser or our pants. So that is it for the front part of the skirt. I'm going on ahead now to cut this out. So from that basket part, let's just call it the basket part, I cut it out. Now I'm cutting out the sides. So like I said, I'm going to be separating entirely that basket area. I'll cut off the waist parts just this way, and the next now is to cut out this basket part. Okay, so just pardon me as I call it the basket part. We are done with the front. Now we're moving over to the back part of our skirt. I got another pattern paper, then from the edge of my pattern paper I marked 1 inch. So this 1 inch is for my zipper allowance. After marking this 1 inch, I connected it into a straight line. From the top part of my paper as well, I left half of an inch. Remember, our band is 1.5 inches. I still did the same thing. I subtracted 1.5 inches from all my vertical measurements right here. Okay. Then after that, I also went on ahead to divide my waist circumference by 4. I marked it on that first line, which is my waistline. And remember, I said that my back hip is 23.5 inches. I also went on ahead to divide it into 2 on my hip line. I marked it right there. So I measured out everything I have on my hip line. I subtracted 1 inch from that, and I marked what I have on my skirt length or my full length. So remember that if you are taking all this your body measurement, it's going to be starting from that your zipper allowance line. Okay, so after that, I'm also going ahead to take my dart the same way I did for the front. But for the back dart in length, I actually marked 5 inches. But you know, for the front dart length, I marked 4.5 inches. So that is basically it. I also went on ahead to replace my dart. It's just basically almost the same thing with the front part of the skirt. Okay, just a slight difference here and there in terms of measurements, and also the addition of zipper allowance. So I'll just blend in that rough edge or that rough part right there. So having done that, now I'll move over to the zipper area. So I'm going to be marking half of an inch away from that zipper line towards the other side this way. Then I'll connect this into the hip line. So this is because when you stand on your mirror, you can just stand sideways. You realize that from our butts below is not just straight, is a bit slanted. Okay, that is the reason for this. I'll still repeat the same thing at the top part of this my waist. I'll mark half of an inch away, you can see. Then I'm also going to come down by 5 inches, and that 5 inches is hitting exactly on that line. So I'll still place my ruler this way and reconnect it inside that 5 inches. So this will give room for your pot to sit perfectly, and it's going to be giving it that curve. Okay, it's be giving that illusion, you know, that curve at the back of your butt. It will seem like your butt is bigger. Most of my clients always tell me not to do this for them, especially people that actually have a very big butt. Okay, so now from the full length of my skirt, I also went on ahead to mark 4 inches. This is for the basket weave as well. So I'll measure everything I have on my full length and also mark it on this other side and connect. Then I'll be labeling this one the back basket, so that I'll be differentiating it with that of the front by the time I cut this out. So that's basically it for the back part of the skirt. I will now go on ahead to cut it out. On that zipper area, I'm still going to be cutting out exactly the same way I marked all these lines. Okay, so at the end of the day, this is what I have. I'll just be cutting this out on my fabric. So the next we are going to be working on is on this basket part. So because my pattern paper was not folded into two when I drafted, I had to cut out extra one piece of this basket part of my skirt. Now I'm going to use my cello tape to tape them together. So all I'm basically going to be doing here is that at the top part of this piece of paper I have right here, this is for the front basket. I'll be marking 2.5 inches at the top part. Okay, so I'll mark it to the very end. Then I'll also come to the base of this paper. I'll continue marking 2.5 inches as well. I'll also mark it to the very end as well. So what I'm going to be doing now is to be connecting these dots together. So from this edge, I'll connect it into this first dot. Then from this other top part, I'll connect it to the lower edge of my paper. From this dot now, I'll connect it to this other one. So in an X shape, that is how I'll be connecting this. I'll continue doing this and marking this till I get to the very end of this my paper. So it's quite easy to do. This is just all you have to do. Continue doing this like this and you are good to go. I'm also going to be doing the same thing for the back part of my basket like with design. After doing this now, you can see what I have. So I went on ahead to count how many lines I have here. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 in total. So I'll be cutting out 16 bias strip with my fabric. Okay, so we'll be doing this together. So the length of or the wideness of my bias is going to be, okay, sorry, the length of my bias is going to be 4 inches, or you can decide to add extra 1 inch to that. You cut off the excesses at the end of the day. Then the wideness, I'll be leaving it at 2.5 inches. So I folded this my fabric into two right here. You can actually be more creative by using another fabric to create this particular design. Okay, but I used the same fabric. So the wideness I have here is 2.5 inches and the length is 5 inches. So I went on ahead now to separate it. Now I have two of these. So fold in the two rough edges inside this way and fold it again for the last time and stitch. Okay, so when I'm done with that, I'll simply go on ahead now to cut out on my fabric and also my lining piece. I also added my stitching allowance to all the necessary parts. So we are going to commence with the sewing. So this is basically going to be in the second part of the tutorial, where I will share with you all a detailed process on how to go about the fixing of all of this. And again, if you don't know how to achieve a very neat waistline finishing for your band, or having your zipper in between your fabric, I'll also be sharing with you all, as you can see right here. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you found this tutorial really helpful. If you actually did, don't forget to subscribe and also share this video. I'll see you next time in the second part of this video. Have a lovely time ahead of you. Bye.